Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Patrick Morrison never imagined that an ordinary Thursday could change his life forever. At 43, he was a man of well-established routines. He woke up at 6 a.m., had coffee with Jessica while the kids got ready for school, and headed to the office of the construction company where he'd worked as a civil engineer for nearly 2 decades. That October morning, the sky over Portland was overcast, with the characteristic autumn fog of Oregon. Patrick grabbed his briefcase, double-checked the documents he needed for an important investor meeting, and kissed Jessica quickly on the cheek as he always did before leaving. She was beautiful, as always, her brown hair pulled back in a ponytail and that smile that had won him over 17 years ago. It wasn't until he reached the company parking lot that Patrick realized his mistake. He'd grabbed the wrong bag. In the entryway at home, 2 dark bags sat side by side, his brown leather one and Jessica's smaller black one. In his rush, he'd snatched the wrong one. Patrick sighed, checked his watch, and decided there wasn't time to go back. He opened the bag to at least transfer the essential documents for the meeting, already imagining the affectionate scolding Jessica would give him later for taking her things. But when he opened the side compartment, something caught his eye. A small, rectangular box, partially hidden under a tissue. Without thinking much, Patrick picked it up, and his heart leapt when he read the packaging: condoms. A sealed box, but already opened. He sat frozen in the driver's seat, holding the box in his hand. It didn't make sense. They hadn't used condoms in years, not since Jessica had gotten her tubes tied after Andrew was born 10 years ago. She'd made the decision on her own, saying 2 kids were enough and she didn't want to worry about birth control anymore. Patrick had agreed. So why was she carrying condoms in her bag? He opened the box with trembling hands. Some were missing, 3, maybe 4. Used. The world around him seemed to slow down. Patrick felt a mix of shock, anger, and a sharp pain in his chest, as if someone had driven a blade between his ribs. He took a deep breath, trying to process it. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe they were old, forgotten. But deep down, he knew he was fooling himself. Jessica was far too organized to leave something like that, forgotten, in her bag. And the box looked new. The expiration date printed on the side showed it had been manufactured recently. Patrick wasn't the type to hesitate. He never had been. When he had a problem, he faced it head-on. Right then, he made a decision. Instead of panicking or confronting her immediately over the phone, he had an idea. He opened his wallet and pulled out a small photo he always carried with him, a framed acrylic keepsake from their wedding day. In the black and white image, Jessica beamed in her wedding dress while he hugged her from behind, both of them looking at the camera with the innocent happiness of people who believed nothing could ever go wrong. Patrick removed the remaining condoms from the box and placed the photo inside instead. He closed it up, put the bag in the back seat, and decided he wouldn't go to the meeting. He called the office, made up an excuse about a family emergency, and got to work. The first thing Patrick did was log into the GPS account linked to Jessica's car. He'd installed the tracking service for safety, especially after she started traveling alone more often. Patrick never imagined he'd use it to investigate his own wife. But there he was, sitting in the empty parking lot, phone in hand, pulling up the route history. What he saw made his stomach churn. Over the past 3 months, there had been repeated visits to a specific address across town, a luxury condo in northwest Portland, near the Pearl District. The visits always happened on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons between 2 and 4, the exact times Jessica claimed she was doing yoga or meeting friends for coffee. Patrick zoomed in on the map, wrote down the address, and decided to go there himself. Anger was starting to boil, but he forced himself to stay calm. He needed more information before confronting her. The condo was elegant, with 24-hour security and surveillance cameras. Patrick parked across the street and watched for a few minutes. Then he had an idea. He grabbed an empty box from his trunk, pretended to be a delivery guy, and walked up to the front desk. The security guard, an older man in a crisp uniform, eyed him suspiciously. Patrick improvised, "Good afternoon, I've got a delivery for apartment 804, but the recipient isn't answering the intercom. Can you help me out?" The guard frowned. "Apartment 804? That's Mr. Brandon Hayes's place. But he's not here right now. Just leave it with me, and I'll let him know." Patrick forced a smile. "Brandon Hayes, that's the one. Does he get a lot of visitors? Just want to make sure it's the right apartment." The guard, unaware of the trap, replied casually, "Oh yeah, he does. There's this woman who comes by regularly in a black SUV. Pretty, brown hair. Comes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually." Patrick felt his blood boil. "Got it. Thanks." He returned to his car, hands shaking. Brandon Hayes. The name echoed in his mind like a gunshot. Who was this man? Patrick opened Instagram on his phone and typed in the name. It didn't take long to find him. Brandon Hayes, 35, a personal trainer with nearly 50,000 followers. Photos from the gym, shirtless poses showing off muscles, generic motivational captions. Patrick scrolled through the feed, feeling a mix of disgust and disbelief. Then he saw it. In the comments under a recent photo of Brandon doing push-ups bare-chested, there was a username Patrick recognized instantly, Jessica's profile. She'd left heart and fire emojis. Patrick clicked on her profile and began reviewing their interactions. There were mutual likes, subtle comments, exchanges that, on their own, seemed innocent, but together painted a clear picture. He felt a wave of nausea. It all made sense now, the excuses, the timing, the bag with condoms. Jessica was having an affair. And it wasn't recent or accidental. It was planned, recurring, deliberate. Patrick checked his watch. 3:30 in the afternoon. Jessica should be home around 5, after picking up Andrew from school and stopping by the grocery store. He decided to go home and wait. He wouldn't call or text. He wanted to see her face when she found the photo in her bag. He wanted to be there when her house of lies came crashing down. Patrick drove in silence, his mind racing. Part of him still hoped there was an explanation, an absurd misunderstanding that would make everything go back to normal. But the rational part, the part that had seen the evidence, knew it was real. 17 years of marriage, 2 kids, a life built brick by brick, and Jessica had thrown it all away for a gym personal trainer. The humiliation hurt as much as the betrayal. Patrick thought about Olivia and Andrew. How would he explain this to them? How could he protect them from the destruction that was coming? When Jessica got home, Patrick was sitting in the living room on the couch, her bag beside him. She came in through the garage door, cheerful, calling out, "Hey, honey. Sorry I'm late, I hit terrible traffic." She stopped when she saw Patrick sitting there, staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. "Everything okay? You're home early." Patrick didn't answer. He just pointed to the bag. Jessica frowned, confused, and walked over. "What's up? Did you take my bag?" She laughed nervously. "I was gonna call you, but I figured you'd notice and come back." Patrick stayed silent. Jessica picked up the bag, still not grasping the gravity of the moment. She opened the side compartment, maybe looking for her phone or keys, and then she saw it. The photo. Their wedding photo, inside the condom box. Jessica's face went completely pale. She froze, holding the box, eyes wide. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Patrick watched every micro-expression on her face, shock, fear, guilt. Finally, Jessica stammered, "Patrick, I can explain." "Then explain." Patrick's voice was icy, controlled. Jessica started to stutter. "Those condoms, they're old, I swear. I don't even remember where they came from. They must have been in there for years, forgotten. Patrick let out a short, humorless laugh. For years? Jessica, the expiration date is 2025. They were made this year. And 4 are missing. 4. He stood up, grabbed his phone, and tossed it onto the coffee table in front of her. On the screen was the GPS history. Northwest Portland. Park Vista Condominium. Apartment 804. Brandon Hayes. Tuesdays and Thursdays, between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. Do you want to keep lying, or would you rather spare me this humiliation? Jessica collapsed onto the couch, her legs giving out. She started to cry, but Patrick felt no pity, only anger. How long, he asked, his voice shaking now. How long have you been cheating on me? Jessica covered her face with her hands, sobbing. 8 months. It started in February. Patrick felt like he'd been punched in the gut. 8 months. Almost a year. While he worked, planned family vacations, celebrated birthdays, she'd been sleeping with another man. Who is he? Patrick asked, though he already knew the answer. He's a personal trainer. I met him at the gym. It was just physical attraction, Patrick. It doesn't mean anything. Patrick exploded. It doesn't mean anything? Jessica, you've lied to me every single day for 8 months. You used our car, our money, our time to sleep with some gym kid. And you still have the nerve to say it doesn't mean anything? Jessica looked up, desperate. Patrick, I'm so sorry. I ruined everything, I know. But it was a mistake. I'll end it with him. Please, can we try to fix this? For our kids. Patrick stepped back as if she were contaminated. Fix it? You think this is fixable? You broke the one thing holding this marriage together, trust. And don't use our kids as an excuse. You didn't think about them when you were at that guy's apartment. Jessica tried to move closer, but Patrick stopped her with a firm gesture. Don't touch me. I want to know everything. How did you meet? When did it start? Does he know you're married? Jessica wiped her tears, her voice faltering. I met him at the gym in January. He was new there, offering personal training sessions. We started talking. He was attentive, funny. Made me feel seen. You were so focused on work, Patrick. I felt invisible. Patrick rolled his eyes, sarcasm dripping. Oh, of course. It's my fault. I worked too hard to give you and our kids a comfortable life, so naturally the solution was for you to spread your legs for the first idiot who gave you attention. Jessica sobbed harder. It wasn't like that. I tried talking to you so many times, but you never had time. Patrick shouted now, losing control. Then you talk to me, Jessica. You sit down and say, Patrick, I feel neglected, we need couples therapy. You don't go running to another man. That's not an excuse, that's cowardice. The silence that followed was heavy. Jessica knew there was no argument left. Patrick picked up his phone again and showed her another screen. He's married, did you know that? Jessica's eyes widened. What? No, he never mentioned, Patrick gave a bitter laugh. Of course he didn't. Why would he? Smart guy. He's got a wife, a successful businesswoman, and he's having fun with married women on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. How convenient. He swiped his finger across the screen and showed her Brandon's wife's profile, which he'd quickly found. Tomorrow morning, she's getting an email with all the proof. Screenshots, GPS logs, everything. If I'm suffering, he is too. Jessica was stunned. Patrick, you can't do that. You'll ruin his life. Patrick leaned in close, his face inches from hers. He already ruined mine. Now we're even. In the days that followed, Patrick acted with surgical precision. He hired one of Portland's most respected divorce attorneys, gathered all digital evidence, and pulled bank statements showing suspicious expenses Jessica had made without his knowledge. He filed for divorce on grounds of adultery. Though Oregon was a no-fault divorce state, proof of infidelity could still influence decisions on asset division and custody. Patrick wanted to make sure Jessica didn't gain any advantage. He also kept his promise. He sent a detailed email to Brandon's wife, attaching photos, GPS coordinates, and social media screenshots. The reply came in less than 24 hours. The woman thanked him, said she'd already suspected something, and informed him she'd also be filing for divorce. Patrick felt no satisfaction, only a deep emptiness. Revenge didn't bring relief. It only echoed the pain. Jessica tried to negotiate. She begged to talk, proposed couples therapy, promised she'd never see Brandon again. But Patrick was unmoved. He moved temporarily into the guest room, keeping emotional and physical distance. The kid sensed something was wrong. Olivia, at 14, asked direct questions. Patrick was honest but gentle. "Your mom and I are going through a tough time. We're separating, but that doesn't change how much we love you." Andrew, younger, cried. Patrick held him for hours, promising he'd always be there. Jessica, meanwhile, tried to explain things to the kids, but they, especially Olivia, grew distant. The teenager felt betrayed too. The family life she'd known was crumbling, and the blame was clear. The scandal surrounding Brandon also had consequences. His wife, a well-connected businesswoman, used her influence to publicly expose his infidelity. Brandon lost sponsorships, major clients canceled contracts, and his reputation plummeted. He tried reaching out to Jessica, but terrified of legal and social fallout, she blocked him everywhere. He dropped her without hesitation once he realized the affair had become a liability. Jessica, in turn, faced judgment from friends and even her own family. Her mother, a traditional and religious woman, called Patrick to apologize on her daughter's behalf and said he was doing the right thing. Public humiliation and social isolation emotionally destroyed Jessica. She sought therapy, but guilt and shame were overwhelming. The divorce process took 6 months. With solid evidence and a skilled attorney, Patrick secured a favorable settlement. The house, which had been in his name since before the marriage, remained entirely his. Custody was shared evenly, with the kids alternating weeks between them. Jessica, who had her own income as an HR manager, received no alimony. She moved into a smaller apartment downtown, far from the neighborhood she knew. Patrick stayed in the house, slowly transforming the space. He repainted walls, rearranged furniture, erasing traces of a past that was now just a painful memory. The months that followed were about rebuilding. Patrick devoted himself to his kids with renewed intensity. He cut back on work hours, attended every school meeting, took Olivia to learn to drive, and taught Andrew to ride a bike without training wheels. He also started therapy, processing the betrayal and grieving the marriage that had ended. Slowly, the pain began to fade. It didn't disappear, but it became bearable. Patrick started going out with friends again, picked up old hobbies like fishing and hiking in the mountains. A year after the divorce, at a company networking event, he met Rachel, a 40-year-old architect who was also divorced and had a teenage son. They talked for hours about life, fresh starts, and scars. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was an honest connection. They began seeing each other slowly, without rushing, building something new on a foundation of transparency and respect. Jessica, on the other hand, faced a lonely journey. She tried reconnecting with the kids, who gradually opened up, but the relationship never returned to what it had been. Olivia, especially, maintained clear emotional distance. Jessica also went on a few dates, but carried the label of the cheater in her social circle. She changed jobs, seeking a fresh start elsewhere, and committed to intensive therapy. Little by little, she began accepting responsibility for her choices and the devastating consequences they caused. The final scene of the story takes place on a Sunday afternoon, nearly 2 years after the discovery. Patrick is at home, clearing out the attic to make room for new furniture that Rachel helped pick out. He finds an old, dusty box full of old photos. At the bottom is that wedding photo, the same one he'd placed in Jessica's bag on that terrible day. Patrick picks it up, looks at their smiling faces in the image, and feels a pang of nostalgia. But it's not pain. It's simply the acknowledgement that it was once real, but it's over. He puts the photo back in the box, closes it, and tucks it into the farthest corner of the attic. He doesn't throw it away. It's part of his story, part of the scars that shaped him. But now, it's just that, archived past. Patrick walks downstairs, where Andrew is waiting to play video games, and Rachel is in the kitchen making dinner. He's learned that broken trust can't be fixed with empty promises, that reclaimed dignity is worth more than forced reconciliations, and that sometimes the best ending isn't the one we imagine, but the one we build with courage after the storm. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.